Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Sitting down here in the basement bait shop, trying to get some things organized, making a little bit of headway, but I'm still trying to go through boxes and try to get things organized. And as I'm doing that, I'm coming up with a lot of good video ideas. And today's is a little tidbit that I've kept to myself forever, as long as I know. I really don't know of anyone outside of team tournament partners that have seen me do this. And it's one of those things that I realize we're still in the winter months, but it's a bed fishing technique and spring technique that can be absolutely killer on fish that just will not bite anything or show interest in other baits. It's a technique that I started doing when I was a little kid. You know, I grew up in Chicago, but we had a little weekend house over in northern Indiana on a lake called Lawrence Lake. It was a lake outside of Plymouth, Indiana. If some of you guys are familiar with that, just a little pothole lake. And I started fishing out of a 14-foot rowboat and a paddle boat. And in that paddle boat and that rowboat, one of my favorite things to do early in the year was to go out and throw small jerk baits. And I would absolutely crush fish on it. Not just small fish, but big fish. I mean, that lake was known, there were periods where that lake was known for producing 5 and 6 pound largemouth. And I've caught lots of big largemouth doing this. So much so that, you know, it's not an issue of getting the fish to bite. It's more of an issue of you're dealing with small hooks. And before I get into exactly what I was doing, I do want to remind you guys that I've just put up a bunch of new lake breakdowns on the Fish the Moment website. So if you go into my description and click the link for the lake breakdowns, that'll take you to lake breakdowns that I specifically have done. They include 40 waypoints, a description of the lake, and a description of the season and what you should be looking for. Randy Blockett, Johnny Schultz, they're doing them as well. So pretty much, guys, there's a lake all over the country that you fish that's probably covered. If not, you can request a lake in the personal lake breakdown. So check that out. Also, if you're looking to buy tackle, which I suggest you do for the start of this upcoming fishing season, because I have a feeling quantities are going to get tight again, that you go to the realshot.com link that's also in my video description. You do your shopping there. It's a local tackle shop here with a great selection. A lot of stuff that you can't find elsewhere because it's already out of stock and people don't know that the Real Shot has it. And if you purchase, you can use the discount code STEFAN10 to save 10% off your order. Works out for everybody. Helps the channel out a little bit. All right, guys, to get into today's video, like I said, back in the day when I was probably 10 to 18 years old, it was really not uncommon for me to go out and catch fish after fish after fish in that spring spawn to post spawn period. This was a killer technique. And what I was doing was throwing little tiny jerk baits. And I know that sounds ridiculous. And at the time, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew it was working. And when I say little tiny jerk baits, I'm talking about little tiny jerk baits. Like, this is one of my favorites. This is an old Husky jerk, the smallest size Husky jerk, the smallest size Rapala X-rap, the old tiny little pin minnow, or some of the old pin minnows. I think that's a Yozuri pin minnow. I've got, you know, this is on the bigger side. This is a Margay mega bass, or a step cat, I believe is what it is. Yeah, this is an old step cat. I don't even know if they still make that. There's a bunch of other ones too. You know, you can see, I mean, I've got a whole pile of these that stay in my tournament boat in the spring. And just for comparison size, just to show you one of my new favorite jerkbaits, the Berkley, if I can get this undone, the Berkley Stunna, which is, I would say, about the average size normal jerkbait. So it's basically the size of like your Vision 110. You can see we're talking significantly smaller. I mean, we're talking about double the size of the diving lip on this this Stunna +1. So as you can see, we're talking really small. And these are suspending baits right here, but not all of the baits are suspending baits that I'm after. I mean, I was throwing, if I can find them here, I've got some floating models too. Like here's one. This was a good one. This is just the basic floating Rapala straight minnow, and you can see it's the same size, the smallest size again. So the reason this works so well is a couple of things. One, they are extremely unintimidating based on the size. I do like to throw some of the more brighter colors just because I can see it. If I'm fishing a fish that is on a bed, I still like to see my bait. And the thing that's so killer about these with the suspended ones, if you've got a little bit of water depth, you can work it down and you just let it sit over the bed. Sometimes it takes 2 minutes, sometimes it takes 2 seconds, but you let this bait suspend over the bed and eventually that fish will get mad at it and come over and eat it and to try to chase it off. If you're fishing in a couple of feet of water or less, so you've got a bed that's in a couple of feet of water or less, that's when I like to go with a floating one, and I'll just twitch this on the surface. I'll just twitch it to make rings, let the rings, disappear, sit there, twitch it again, let it sit there, and that's all you do. You continue just to twitch it over the top of the fish and they'll come and eat it. So that's when the fish are on the bed. Very, very, very good technique that I don't know of anyone else talking about, but I can tell you guys that jerk baits, specifically small jerk baits, are really underutilized when it comes to spawning fish. The other key here is during the post spawn. So after they've actually spawned, you've got fish that are guarding the fry into a post spawn phase. So if they're guarding fry, again, this little minnows and bluegill are the absolute enemy to the fry. And therefore, any fish that comes close, the bass will try to chase off. So again, you can take these and suspend them right in the middle of the ball of fry if you can see the fry ball. If you can't see the fry ball, but you can see the bass, you still know that that bass is reacting, and it's just a different form of sight fishing. Absolutely killer on fry ball fish. Once those fish are done guarding the fry, they start moving their way out, but the fish are lethargic in a slow, moving phase of their life. They're just looking to be, to kind of recoup and rest. And that's where, again, a small little bait like this creates that little tiny snack that a lot of fish just can't turn down. It's amazing to me how you will get no response out of a normal traditional bed fishing bait, a bigger bait, and you pull out some of these tiny little, little tiny pin minnows, some of the little tiny X-raps or the old Husky jerks or a floating minnow. It's just unbelievable how they react completely different to it. And the only reason I do this is because I didn't know better when I was in my early teenage years. I just knew it was working. I didn't really even understand the full spawn, the whole phases of the spawn. I just knew sometimes they were on a bed and sometimes they weren't. But I knew that if I was fishing in that area between May and June, it was like the best thing I could do. I'd take the paddle boat out, I'd go into some of the channels, I'd throw it up by shore, twitch it around, and I mean, I would, in a couple hours, I would catch a dozen fish. It was killer. Since then, these have become tournament baits for me. I carry these not in my jerkbait box, I carry these in my bed fishing box. And over the years, I've had a bunch of random people who were either in my boat or just going through some of my stuff. And they're like, why do you got those in your bed fishing box? And I would just make a comment like, oh, I just misplaced them, threw them in there, whatever. The fact of the matter is, I've caught a lot of bass on these. This guy right here has been a warhorse for me. This was actually one that I think I got. I could be wrong, but I believe I used to be when I was younger. I was in the Rapala fan club and they'd send you like a monthly new bait or prototype bait. And I believe that's where this one came from. And it's been a killer for me. And I love it because I can see it. And there's a lot of fish that I've caught that I visually watched eat it and I could get them to respond to it because I knew where the bait was. So that's one reason I like the natural colors. Some of the other, you can see I've got a bunch of various ones here. I've got some natural colors. I've got some bright colors like this guy. I think I just called it natural, but these are the guys that sit. All of these guys are in my tackle box when I'm out on the water if I'm looking to bed fish, guys. So the secret is out. Get yourself some. They're not all that easy to find. Normally, you got to mail order them through the mail, just because a lot of tackle shops don't carry them. At least over the years, there's a few places I've seen, but generally speaking, you're going to have to go to a larger retailer that carries all the sizes of those baits. And it doesn't have to be any of those. Those are the ones that I've used, and I've had, I've probably got 20 of them in various sizes and colors, but they're all that really small size, and they just seem to work. So I haven't bought anything recently. There's probably some really cool baits on the market that would work great too, but because these are the ones I need and these are the ones I've used and I haven't really lost any, that's kind of what I've been sticking with. But if you guys got some other really small suspending and floating minnows that you like, throw it in the comment section so that other people can find them. Like I said, I'm not even 100% sure that, some of these, I don't think you can buy this color right now. So some of this stuff I'm sure probably isn't even still made. It could be, but I'm sure there's new replacements on the market, all really good stuff. I got to tell you guys, it definitely it's a good one. Give it a whirl. Let me know what you think. I know down south already fish are being caught off the bed. So if you're down in that Florida area, you can already start doing this. And it won't be long here before we're doing it. So it'll give you a little bit of time to order a couple, get ready to head out on the water because springtime is coming. And that's when you should not forget about throwing little jerk baits around the beds. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful. If it was, hit the like button and stay tuned for tomorrow's video.